Welcome to the Live Free podcast, where we cover all things neuro-wellness, neuro-empowerment, and anything that helps you live free. We discuss and share modern neuroscience principles so that you can remove restrictions holding you back, create an incredibly fulfilling experience, and live free.
Welcome to the Live Free podcast. We're so excited to be here, recording episode number 1 of many. We already have so many episodes planned out, so many great things to talk about, but I'm especially excited about today's topic because we're going to be sharing our story, which I think you'll also realize is your story.
So if you've tried everything, therapy, self-help, habit apps, more discipline, and you're still looping in the same patterns, then this podcast is for you.
This episode especially is going to be for the high-functioning people who are super self-aware and that are tired of knowing what they should be doing, but yet are still frustrated that they just can't seem to do it.
The Live Free podcast is all about the brain and how we can use it to live free.
Your brain is so powerful, but most of us have never been taught how to actually use it. There's tons of podcasts out there that are about the neuroscience and these neuro tools, but we wanted to sit down and show people how we can live more aligned with our brain and with the neuroscience so that we can live more free, that we can live in a way unhindered and not held back by our own brain, but instead using our brain to work for us instead of against us.
When we say live free, we mean spending more time in that state of being where you're free to create. It's an empowered state with clarity, and you're free to create what you want in your life.
Yeah, instead of just living kind of in that reactive survival mode that so many of us are familiar with. So not only do we want to get out of that survival mode where we're just, barely getting by and surviving, but we also want to shift into this more empowered state, like Karen just said, where we have the energy and the resources and the mental brain power and the emotional endurance to create the life that we want to create. So instead of just moving away from something that we don't like, we also want to be moving towards something that we truly do want.
So I'm Karen. I'm co-founder of Transcendus and co-creator of the Live Free program. And I work with people on the neuro-wellness side, helping them understand their brain and how to use it, understanding their nervous system so that they can live in that free state and create the life that they want.
And I'm Bryson, the other co-founder and co-creator of the Live Free program. My background is a little bit more in the neuroscience, building brain-based systems that people can use for change. So taking the neuroscience and turning it into something that not only people can understand, but that they can apply to their daily living. So not necessarily in the treatment side, although that is where my background comes from, but more in the, if I want to live today better, what do I need to do according to the neuroscience?
We've both been on a long journey, learning how our brain works, how to go from struggling to thriving, how to transcend challenges and live free. And we realized that we wanted to build something that we wish we would have had a long time ago.
So today isn't going to be a coaching session. It's going to be about our story. But at the same time, I hope you recognize that it's also your story, whoever's listening to this. We want to share how we tried solving our problems the wrong ways, and then how we went through the process of learning how the brain works and how we turned that into something that was useful, tested it out, applied it to our lives, and then realized how powerful and potent that was. And that culminated into the Live Free program and now also the Live Free podcast. So this podcast is designed to be relevant for both the Live Free program alumni as well as those that are being introduced to the concept of Live Free for the first time.
And my Live Free journey started with spending many, many years trying to make sure everything was in order, everyone was okay, that everyone was safe and doing well. And that included a lot of doing and fixing. And it was almost like, if everything out there is okay, then I'm okay. And that comes with a cost. Exhaustion, some resentment, feeling like life is happening to me and I just need to stay ahead of it. No matter how much I tried to control everyone and everything, I still didn't feel in control. I was living like the only way for me to feel okay was if everything was in order and everyone was safe. No matter how much I tried to control everyone and everything, I didn't feel like I was in control. From the outside, things looked pretty good, but on the inside, not so much. Well, I've never really considered myself a fearful person. I was living from a place of fear, and that took a toll. And while I was trying to make sure everyone was okay and everything was okay, I think the people around me felt maybe broken, like that I was trying to fix them or that they weren't capable of doing things themselves. I realized that I didn't want the people around me, the people that I loved, to feel that way. I didn't want anyone to feel broken or less than, or that they weren't capable of handling things, because I was always there making sure everything was okay. And so I did a lot of work on myself. I changed the words that I used. I changed my interactions. I did a lot of changing, and yet internally there was still worry and stress and turmoil that didn't go away with just changing how I acted.
So a couple weeks ago, you and I were driving back from a health conference that we were presenting at, and we were kind of going over our story and talking about what we were sharing with people, at the conference. And you used some really specific wording that I feel is worth kind of diving into, that I think a lot of people might relate to. You said something along the lines of, I felt like I was a slave to the list of things that I had to get done. Could you want to just share a little bit more about that and what was going on, what that felt like, what played into that, whatever your thoughts are? I think people listening will probably be able to relate to that.
Well, when you're trying to control an environment and people and schedules, you have lists, you have calendars, you have lists of lists, at least I did. And the expectations that I put on myself was that I had to get through all these things so that everything was okay. Everyone was taken care of, everything ran smoothly, we got it all done, we had the best experiences we could as a family. I just packed it full. And instead of being able to be present and enjoy what we were doing, I was literally checking off the list in my mind of everything that we needed to do so that everyone was safe, emotionally, physically, health. Health was a very big one. And I was just moving through my lists, and the lists were in control. I didn't feel in control. That's for sure.
It's funny, in your efforts to try to control everything, the opposite ended up happening. Everything ended up controlling you,
Yes.
Which feels kind of ironic, but at the same time, I think that happens a lot with people.
When we have put all of our effort into controlling an environment and controlling the experiences of people, I wouldn't say that I was trying to directly control each individual person, but I was trying to control their experiences to make sure that their experiences were good and healthy and productive. One of the things that gets lost is yourself. It was a loss. I was just deferring to the needs of everyone else. And that's not a very free place to be. And it's not a very creative and joyful place to be.
So my story is in some ways really similar to Karen's, but at the same time, quite different. About 7 or 8 years ago, I found myself deep in the middle of all my neuroscience studies. And on the outside, it looked like I was living the life that I wanted to live. But on the inside, it still didn't feel that way. I was rock climbing. I was traveling all over North America. I was, going on trips with friends and just experiencing life and doing everything that I love to do. But still inside, I was struggling. I had a hard time waking up in the morning unless we were going to be going rock climbing. I had a hard time doing the things that I felt I needed to do, that I wanted to do, important life responsibilities, as well as the things that that I knew would be super beneficial for my health. Meditating, working out first thing in the morning, all of that. But what was most frustrating was the fact that I was studying the brain. I knew so much about the brain, and yet every morning and every night I was fighting this battle against my brain. And I would win a lot of those battles just using sheer willpower and grit, but I was becoming exhausted and my willpower was depleting. And I could tell that it was depleting, and that was scary because I was barely hanging on, barely doing the things that I knew I wanted to do and that I should be doing. And yet I could see that eventually the only thing keeping it all together was about to run out. So I would come up with all these different game plans and action plans and habit trackers, and I would set all these goals, all these external things that I wanted to do. I was going to get up at this time, and I was going to meditate, and then I was going to exercise. Then I was going to have a smoothie for breakfast packed with all these nutrients, and it would work for a little while. I would get excited about that new, habit. But then after, a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a couple of months, something would happen and I would kind of just get knocked off track, or the excitement for that thing would start to run out and fail. I'd rely on grit and willpower for a little bit, but then that would also run out. So I knew that I needed something. I realized that I was trying to just change everything on the outside and force those external changes, but I wasn't making sure that my internal state was aligned first.
So when you were in your most disciplined phase, what did that feel like internally? What was like your internal dialogue with yourself?
So, like those motivational videos where it's like some motivational speaker that's kind of yelling and it's showing like all these clips of, people working out in the gym and running, at 3 a.m. It felt like that kind of out here. For those listening, I'm kind of putting my hands out in front of me. It felt like that. And that was kind of, it's not that it was a mask. It's not that it was a costume. It almost just felt like a poster board that I was holding up of saying, yes, this is who I'm going to be. But in order to maintain that, I was going to need to keep my hands up, holding up that poster board the whole time. And then I knew that as soon as I put that poster board down, I was just going to be tired.
So when you made yourself try harder, when you added more grit, when you intensified your efforts, what did that cost you?
The biggest thing for me is that it was exhausting. And of course, we can always recover from exhaustion, but seeing and recognizing that exhaustion was really, really discouraging. And that I lost a lot of hope in my ability to keep living the way that I wanted to be living. I thought I was living the way that I should, even though I knew that something wasn't lined up internally. It's like my brain wasn't on board for this plan. And this other part of me that just wanted to live this way was trying to pull my brain along with me. But my brain was pretty stubborn, and trying to sit there and pull your brain through this whole process, like I said, it's exhausting, but primarily it's just really discouraging. When you fail over and over and over again, it's not that last failure that gets you. It's the recognition that you have a track record of failing. That's the discouraging part. And that's what I knew I needed to fix. I was like, I need to have some sort of win where I know that I can make this happen.
So I was trying to control the input, other people, circumstances, and the environment.
And then on the flip side, I was trying to control and force the output, the behavior, performance, results. No matter what my system was trying to make me do, no matter what my internal state was, I was still trying to force that behavior and that performance on the outside. And I think most people get stuck in either of these. They either are trying to control the input and how things are coming in and affecting them, or they're trying to control and force the output, like their actions and their behavior and the results. And like a lot of our listeners, Karen and I were doing either of these, but at the same time, we both still hit the same wall.
At a basic level, your brain does 3 things. It takes in information, it processes that information and gives it meaning, and then it takes action.
We'll dive deeper into this concept in future episodes because it is so core and so essential to understand. But the short version is that middle step, how our brain interprets what information we've brought in, that's what ends up running the show. So this might be a good place to introduce a few concepts from the Live Free program. Not that many people understand how this works, and even fewer understand the importance of it. Our brain essentially has 2 different states. We switch back and forth between these 2 states, sometimes staying in one longer than the other. These 2 states are called confined state and free state. And they're not just neurological, they're actually emotional, physical, mental, physiological even. Confined state is the state of being we experience when our nervous system shifts into a fight or flight state. We're focused on threats, even if they're just a perceived threat, and we're tense, we're stressed out, we're on high alert, we get kind of narrow focused tunnel vision, and we get decreased access to more of our higher thinking capabilities in our brain. And in fact, the blood flow actually gets restricted and constricted to our prefrontal cortex. Yes, it is connected to our fight or flight response, but it is way more than just fight or flight. We hear everybody talking about fight or flight these days, but confined state takes that a step further, and it's an entire state of being, not just a nervous system reflex. In simple terms, confined state is threat mode. You're hyper-focused on threats and danger, you're in survival mode, and you're relying on stress and urgency and fear to keep you moving forward. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. Even if not on super high extremes, I feel a lot of us experience that at least on a daily basis.
Looking back, I think I've spent most of my life in confined state. I just didn't have that language for it.
Same. I went with that experience I was just sharing. I was forcing myself to use willpower while in confined state. And the fact that I was in confined state is the reason why my willpower and my grit weren't working. So on the flip side, we have free state. Free state is the state of being we experience when we're unhindered by limiting beliefs. Our mind is just open to the expansive options and available resources out there. We're in this state of being where we're empowered by this limitless potential of our mind, and we're just free to create the life that we want. There's really nothing's holding us back. We're free. There's no restraints. There's no restrictions. We're just able to do everything that we want to do.
So when we say live free, we're talking about spending as much time as possible in that state of being that Bryson just described, the free state. That's where we are unhindered by limiting beliefs. We're empowered by the potential of our mind, and we are enthusiastically creating the life that we desire.
So in simple terms, free state is this elevated creative state of being. It's kind of like flow state, but flow state is really just this state of being that usually we describe it in terms of athletes entering flow state, where they're able to just react without having to think about it. But free state is way more than that. It's not just reacting seamlessly. It's about just understanding and seeing everything with clarity and being able to make all your decisions, control your internal state, being unaffected by the world around you, and just living in the state of being and the emotions and the experiences that you want instead of being controlled by the world around you.
So when we say live free, what we mean is spending as much time as possible in that free state that Bryson has just described. That's a state where we are unhindered by limiting beliefs. We are energized by the potential of our incredible brain, and we are enthusiastically building and creating. We're not in that survival mode of feeling that life is a threat. We are in a state of being where we have limitless potential.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it feels so good. Not only does it feel good to be in that state, in free state, but we can do more. It's not just about feeling really good when you're at home and not being in a crummy mood. It's about having more ability to live the life you want. You're better at your job, your relationships improve because you're able to see and understand things and not everything is a threat. You thrive in your career because you have more access to creative problem solving and you're able to see and understand and learn things faster. Every area of our life is improved when we spend more and more time in free state. And on the flip side, every area of our life gets worse the more time we spend in confined state. We get held back, we get frustrated, we lose access to really crucial processing power of our brain. We destroy relationships, we stop chasing goals, and we just live in this it's like we take up less room in our life because we're afraid of everything around us.
So if the goal is to spend as much time as possible in free state, What does that look like for me? What's been my experience? For me, living free means that I always have a choice. I have a choice in what I focus on. I have a choice in the meaning that I give to what I'm focusing on, and then the actions I take, no matter what is going on around me. No matter what other people are doing, no matter what the environment is, the circumstances, the to-do list, the schedule, I still have a choice. And when I am in free state, it is truly amazing. It is a liberating, creative space that brings me joy. And I want to spend as much time as possible in free state.
Yeah, and for me, free state is such a powerful place to be, specifically because I've experienced confined state before. I talked about just being really discouraged and kind of hopeless that I'll ever live the life that I really do want to live. Free state has unlocked a different level of trust in myself. Instead of being discouraged and frustrated and, oh no, I'm never going to be able to accomplish what I want because I can't even do these things, it's allowed me to trust myself and trust my brain again, and I'm no longer discouraged. It's unlocked the ability to feel hope because I know I'm not doomed to these same repetitive cycles and loops over and over and over again.
The more people we talked to, the more we saw the same thing. Different levels of surface struggles, but the underlying issue was the same. Too much time in confined state. And without an understanding of how to shift into free state and stabilize there in free state and stay, maintaining that free state of being.
Yeah, it's really easy to kind of separate yourself from the struggles that everybody else is having, because on the surface, all of our struggles feel so different. The struggles that a single mother is going through are way different than a college student or an empty nester or someone who's just retiring and doesn't know what their life purpose is anymore. But at the same time, all of us have a brain that operates with the same principles and follows the same rules and is set up in the same way. Yeah, we all have slightly different neural pathways, but those neural pathways all operate using the exact same system. And everybody has a confined state and a free state. So because our brain is what kind of governs and rules our entire experience and really our whole life, if we want to change our experience and our life, that's where we have to start. We have to start with the brain because the brain is the key to all of it, because the brain is the foundation and the source for all of it.
So what it really boils down to is that we spend too much time in confined state and we want to be in free state. And that's the underlying commonality that people share. And when we are in free state, so much is available to us. Confined state is so limiting and free state is so empowering. And free state is where we can create and feel joy. It's where we see things not as a threat, but we see it as a challenge and an opportunity. It's where we want to be, is in free state.
So once Karen and I made that connection and had that realization that all of us are struggling with the same problem, too much time in confined state, not enough time in free state, and not even an awareness that there are these two different states, the question then became, what would a system and a process look like for helping people move from confined state to free state? We were both learning these things, applying them, having our own shifts, and we were starting to share all these principles with other people and seeing them have their own shifts. But we needed a more systematic way of talking about this and a more systematic way of talking about this and teaching it so that other people could take it and apply it in really effective ways. Yeah, we built the Live Free program because we learned the neuroscience and we knew that it worked. We had applied it. We had seen it work in other people's lives. And so we went out and started looking for something like this out there that was available. And we just couldn't find anything at all. We found a lot of stuff that was similar, that had some important aspects or elements of it, but not something that was as systematic and comprehensive as what we felt it deserved. We sat down and we created the Live Free program. That's been out and launched for a while. And we highly recommend everybody do it, of course. But at the same time, we wanted to create something that was just going to be available to everybody and cover a wide range of topics, which is why we have now created this Live Free podcast. So we can share stories of living free, talk more and teach more about how to live free. What does the neuroscience say and what does that mean to apply it?
And we'll dive deeper into how our lives have changed. But I will say that Relationships improved. It's not just lower stress in life, it's incredible changes in relationships and my ability to create what I want in my life and not be affected by externals, things going on around me. So we'll go deeper into that in a future podcast because there's been huge shifts for both of us.
And when it comes down to it, neither Karen or I are special. We just simply took the neuroscience, learned it, and applied it, and aligned our lives and our actions and our thoughts with the way that our brain works. And that is what has created the incredible results. So it's not about being the right person or being a genius or having enough willpower. It's just about being you, but just being better at being you, because now you're in free state and now you're not constantly fighting against your physiology.
So many people waste time and energy coping with triggers. And on the Live Free podcast, we want to share knowledge, tools, and skills that will help you just remove those triggers, create new neural pathways, shape your experience so that you can truly live free.
Yeah, we're going to keep unpacking and diving into what it really means to be in confined state versus free state, not just generally in life, but specifics like your relationships, work, family, all of that. You'll hear more of our stories and the ways that we've applied the Live Free principles. We're also going to talk to other people, whether they're alumni or just incredible individuals who are also living free and what living free looks like for them, and not just in the application, but also in the results. Here's how I go about trying to live free, and here's what it means for me, and here's what I'm able to do because I'm living free.
Yeah, so if you are self-aware, you've done a lot of work, and you find yourself still looping in the same places, you're our people.
Yeah, our people are those that want to change, that are looking for shifts, that are excited about what life could mean for them when they're not in this constant draining battle with their own mind. And we're so excited to keep talking with all of you and share our stories, share other stories, and just dive real deep into the things that are going to make the biggest difference for everybody.
If you've heard yourself in any of our stories today, subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming next. We have so much to share, and we're excited for you to meet people who are living free and hear their stories also.
And if you want to see the bigger picture, we'll link the Live Free program in the show notes caption, as well as some other free resources that you can take and look at and start applying today. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Live Free podcast. Subscribe to never miss out on new episodes and follow us on Instagram at livefree_neuro-wellness.